Welcome. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Count Frightculous, and I will be your guide into the chilling, spooky scariness of the world, and maybe even perhaps the universe. But for now, our road is taking us down the journey of 1,000 paths into the scary stories that are out there. And yes, I feel like I'm just mumbling there. I'm trying to make it up as I go, but let's keep it going, because these scary stories wait for no one. So make sure you are staying to the end, because you want to see the rating for this scary story by none other than the Demon Baby. But you say, rating for what? You cut right into that, didn't you? For Count Frightculous? Yes, I did. But let me tell you what we're doing. We're reviewing some scary stories from long ago. Stories that have been hidden away in boxes and in the attics and the basements. I mean, the attics and the basements down there, and the attics are up there. But you get the idea. Hidden away. You might find them at an antique store. You might find it at I don't know, a baby crib. It might be hidden under the mattress. You don't know what kind of crazy people with these scary stories and what they might do with them. I don't know. They stick them everywhere trying to get rid of them, because the fright coming from them, they have to run away from the scary story. So these scary stories are everywhere. We're going to uncover them together. We're going to review them. And we've done quite a few already. If you haven't seen those, you may want to go back to the previous episodes where we are delving into these scary stories. But now we're going into another scary story. And there it is. There it is. The knocking on the door. We got to find out, who is it? Let's find out. It's the Grim Picker, and he has chosen the scary book story for us to review tonight, and I'm very excited to get right into it. But I must warn you first, never deny the choice of the Grim Picker. For once the decision is made, it must not be undone. Yes, you should subscribe and like this video, and maybe share it with your scary friends, so that others may enjoy these scary stories from long ago that have been hidden away, and most people are not even aware that they're out there, littered across the world, the land and the world, and wherever the back alleys and the bookstores that are about to close down, because who reads books anymore? Well, we do, for number one, and that's why we're doing it, because we want to see the scary books, scary stories. And you may say, hey, that's not the real candle you're holding up to your face. And I would say, you're exactly right. This is not the real candle, because if you look, Count Frightculous is wearing a lot of wool and polyester, okay? One wrong move around a flame, a real flame, and Count Frightculous becomes Count Frightculous. You know what I mean? Count Flameculous, okay? I would be up like a tinderbox. I would be chicken fried nuggets right before your eyes, okay? So here we go. But now we've got to look at the cover of this scary book so we can get into the scary stories. Yes! And so the title of this scary book story is called Black Magic. Ooh, that's pretty creepy, I must tell you now, because never delve into the black magic. Black magic means death, pretty much certain death if you deal with the black magic. But that is the title of this book. So we can only imagine the horrors that are contained within these pages. And here it says, listen to your nightmares. They are warning you. Black magic. Okay, let's get into this right away. I'm very excited and terrified all at the same time. And so the first story is called When You Were Alive. So I will summarize the story and point out a few quirky things I see, or scary things I should say, quirky. Could be funny. There could be some frightculous moments in there. That's what Frightculous is all about. It's kind of scary, funny moments. They're frightculous. All right, I've said that way too many times. I think you get the idea. All right, so the story starts out, and there's a man, and he's sitting here, and he's talking to some young women. And I will just read right away what it is here, so you can get an idea. It says, Thomas McCarthy worked in a lunchroom on Long Island's North Shore. He was a handsome young man with a roving eye and a way with the ladies. So we find out right away that Thomas works at the lunch counter in a cafeteria. He's basically the cash register guy at a cafeteria, right? And he likes to hit on the ladies that are coming through, apparently. He likes to flirt a lot with the pretty ladies coming through the line. I mean, I guess that's not a bad job if you're looking to flirt with women, because they're going to be coming through the line a lot, and they have to talk to you because they have to pay for their meal. So you kind of funneled them right to you, right? So hey, Thomas, he's not a stupid man, I guess we could say. He wants to flirt with the women. And the girls, you know, as he's flirting with them, the girl says, "Go along with you now, Tommy. You and your slick manners and fancy flattery. They'll get you in trouble someday. Fancy flattery will get you everywhere. Just plain flattery will get you nowhere, but fancy flattery can get you in trouble." She says here in the next panel, "You'll be a pretty mess when you come across a girl who believes all your fine stories. What then?" He says, "The girl who believes my stories will be the girl for Thomas McCarthy, ladies." He says, "Ah, what a lash she'll be. I'll know her when I see her. Her hair will be raven and her skin milk white, and her eyes," and they interrupt him, "her eyes will be the color of the emerald, like the island where she was born." And then he's saying, okay, ladies, whatever. And they laugh and they say, "Okay, Thomas, whatever, it's the same old blarney you've been spouting for the last 5 years. Thomas McCarthy, a good day to you. I hope you find your lady fair." And then he's kind of, okay, whatever. I can tell you this, it won't be you two. He's 30. He got a little bit, his feelings hurt because he realized they're humoring him. So he got a little bit upset about that. But he's leaving. He's going out of the lunchroom. You see him coming out of the diner. He's getting into his car and he's saying, "Oh, it's such a cold night. Very windy night," He's driving along and he sees a woman just standing on the side of the road. "Saints preserve us. Why, it's a girl, a young girl." And so he's like, "Hey, do you need a ride? You're very pretty to be out here by yourself. You're wearing hardly any clothes, it looks like, But then she says, "Oh, okay, I was walking home. It is a long walk. It would be kind of you to drive me there." So he says, "Sure." And she gets in and he just can't believe how pretty she is. And he's like, "Wow, her hair is like raven and her skin is milky white." And he's like, and this is very creepy because you just picked this woman up, okay? You just picked her up. Number one, I'd be a little suspicious that, there's a lady like this just walking down the road. But then if I was the lady, I would be very probably frightened when this guy you just met 2 minutes ago says this to you. "It is my misfortune that I never met you before. By the way, miss, would you mind telling me the color of your eyes?" It's like, "Okay, dude. Okay, Mr. Creepy Man there." She's like, "I guess you'd call them emerald. Why do you ask?" And he's just saying, "Well, you're just the loveliest person I've ever seen." And he's telling her stories. And she says, "I love the stories you tell, and I won't deny that I enjoy your flattery. Even if you haven't asked my name." She's kind of sticking, "Hey, you're throwing all these compliments. You're telling me how pretty I am and how our destiny was to meet, and you didn't even ask me my name. So far, this seems like a very, very blind date of the dark nature, right?" Okay, so anyway, her name is Alice Riley, we find, anyway, he drives her home, and he wants to walk her to the door, but she says, no, you can't walk me to the door, please don't. And he says, well, it's just too cold, He's just trying, of course, to spend more time with her. He wants to really get to know her. But she's like, nope, I'm going to walk to the door myself. He's like, at least take my jacket because it's so cold. And so he puts the jacket, he's like, I'll meet you tomorrow night, the same place. Okay, and so then, he starts having these dreams that night. He's having a dream of her, but it's not a very nice dream. He can't get her out of his mind, but the dream he has is kind of dark and gloomy. As we see here, she's talking and he's like reaching out to her. He says, don't go, my darling, come back. There's an icy chill upon you, and you're needing the warmth of me arms. I don't know if I should have said of my arms, but of me arms. I mean, what is he now? All of a sudden he's breaking it to like a Shakespeare, He's Romeo and Juliet of the dark arts. I don't know. And she says, no, Thomas, it is not the cold of the night. Oh, Tom, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to go back. Well, go back where? Go back into your car? I mean, what is it that she's afraid to go back? He wakes up. He's very startled. He wakes up. Alice, and then he's at the lunch counter, and all he can think about is her. So he starts looking her up in the phone book because he remembers the address he dropped her off at, right? And so he looks her up in the phone book, and he goes, oh, there it is. And he calls her up. He wants to talk to her on the phone, but a man answers, an older man, and he starts talking about how, hey, I met your daughter, and I dropped her off last night, and the man is kind of distraught. He's like, wait a minute here. He says, you say you want to speak to Alice? Who are you, man? Is anything wrong, sir? Alice is all right, isn't she? She told me I might call. And he says, you better come over here. You got some splaining to do, my friend. And so he goes over there, and is this your idea of a joke, young man? We do not find it amusing. He goes, but I assure you, I am not jesting, sir. I met Alice last night and gave her a lift. There was no harm in it. She seemed in excellent spirits. And he says, sir, I must tell you, is this the woman that you picked up? And he says, yes. He says, well, I'm afraid to tell you, Alice was buried in this very dress 5 years ago, last night, the same night he picked her up, because it was just last night. And he's like, what? Look at his face. He's so shocked. He's like, what? What? Buried? But that's impossible. Why, I even gave her my coat to wear so she wouldn't get a chill. And so, they take him to the cemetery, and they show him the grave, and they say, look, this is her grave right there. This is, you see the name on the grave, and then of course this is where it gets really chilly, spooky, ooh, scary right now, because we read right here. They were living beings walking in the land of the dead, and it seemed unbelievable that Alice was one of them. But great Lord in heaven, she was. Here was her grave, and horror upon horror, draped across it was Tom's coat. So you see, she was dead. But I have to tell you, this is an example of a residual ghost, okay? A residual ghost is one that's kind of like in a loop, but it will happen at a specific time, or maybe there's a specific place where the ghost would appear. Like every night at 2 a.m., you hear footsteps, right? Or in this case, on this particular date, every year, the woman will be standing out beside the road wanting to walk home. But I will just read the last panel to wrap it up. This startling, unexplainable climax to Thomas McCarthy's weird romance was the familiar garment which he recognized at once. Tom's coat lay draped over the pitiful mound of earth, forming a bizarre blanket to shelter lovely Alice Riley from the icy cold of the December night. So you see, it's kind of weird, though, that they're calling this romance. I mean, it was one night. He picked her up on the side of the road. He started having some weird conversations with her. Hey, what is the color of your eyes? You were meant for me, darling, and everything like that. He's moving too fast. Tom moved way too fast, but it didn't matter because she was dead anyway, right? So he's romancing a ghost. It's funny that he worked at a lunch counter as a cashier, and he's trying to flirt with the ladies and trying to find the perfect woman for him, and then he ends up picking up a hitchhiker on the side of the road. You see all these women coming to the cafeteria, but you pick up the hitchhiker on the side of the road. That's the one you fall in love with. but she turns out to be dead. So, you know, back to the drawing board, Thomas McCarthy, okay? Maybe just try to be a little bit nicer in the lunchroom and, you know, talk to those ladies. Maybe ask one of them out on a date, maybe. Someone that's actually got their pulse. Okay, anyway, enough of Thomas McCarthy. To the next story. And it is called The Girl in the Grave. Hopefully it's not part 2 of Thomas McCarthy. No, this is a completely different story. But this one is about, what happens here is, this is actually about a man, and his name is Richard Temple. And he turns out to be a dream detective. And you say, what is a dream detective, Count Frightculous? I don't know really, but it sounds like he's a psychologist. It's a fancy word for psychologist because he basically, people tell him these dreams that they're having and then he deciphers them for them and says, okay, here is why you're having this dream. Here's what's going on. So instead of just calling himself a psychologist, he's calling himself the dream detective, which, hey, maybe that gets him a little more business because some people don't want to go to a psychologist, or there's tons of psychologists, right? You see psychologists listed, you know, and you think they're going to be a head shrinker. No, he made it into a different thing. He said, hey, I'm actually a dream detective. That's what I am. He made the whole career out of this, apparently. If anyone were to ask Richard Temple his philosophy of life, the answer would most probably be, nothing happens by accident. There is a reason for everything. Then he might give an example, a chance meeting that happened to him only a short while ago. And here we go, right into the story. And the first panel, it's very funny. Right away, this woman's like, oh, my coffee. I've spilled most of it over you. I'm sorry. I'm afraid I've stained your coat. Yes, and you've probably scalded his entire crotch. I mean, how do you spill an entire cup of coffee? That says, oh my goodness, I've spilled most of my coffee. Why would you just, oh no, you know? And Richard here, I mean, this guy is ice cold, man. He is chill as a cucumber. He doesn't even react. He's just like, it isn't too bad, miss. These things will happen. How do you have coffee spilled all over you and you just sit there like nothing happened? I mean, is the guy numb from the waist down? I mean, come on now. It's a hot coffee. It's got to hurt a little bit, or at least you would startle, maybe you would kind of, whoa, hey, whoa, what's going on? He's just sitting there very nonchalant. Nah, these things happen. It's okay. It's only a cup of coffee. I mean, if it were the whole pot of coffee, we might have a trouble. But she stained his suit, but he doesn't care. This Richard Temple, he's a cool cat, for sure. Are you all right, miss? You look ill. No, I'm all right. And then later, you know, he's sitting there and he's talking, and it's funny, the guy behind the counter says, friend of yours, Mr. Temple? He says, no, but that girl is nervous, Mike, and frightened. That's 3 times in as many minutes she's put on her lipstick and wiped it off again. Now he's stalking this woman, watching her, and then he comes over to her and says, I see there's something wrong with you, right here in the next panel. I beg your pardon, miss. Perhaps I have no right to pry into your affairs, but I'd like to help you. My name is Richard Temple. I read that very choppy, didn't I? Okay, sorry about that. I'll do better next time. Temple, the dream detective? Right there, like I told you, the dream detective. Why, I was going to call your office as soon as I left here for an appointment tonight. The man makes appointments at night for the dream detective. I wonder if they come in and they sleep and then they dream and then he just sits there and watches them. He probably charges them by the hour. It's like $50 an hour to sit there and watch you sleep. And then when they wake up, oh, I got a bad dream. Then he'll decipher and give them the clues. Oh, what happened in your dream? Because a lot of times, right, when you wake up, you remember the dream, but then like 10 minutes later, you can't remember anything about the dream. So see, with him, he's sitting right there. I'm just speculating all of this. I have no idea if that's exactly what he does, but I'm just saying anyway. I'm afraid you would have missed me. But apparently fate has decided that you were to see me tonight after all. How can I help you? Suppose you begin at the beginning, miss, and she tells him her name. Her name is Madeline Roberts. She says, I'm a junior accountant. I've been out of college for a year, and a week ago I found a position at last. It seems like this is something that happens even in present day. People going to college, they come out, very hard to find a job sometimes. It's very nerve-wracking. So anyway, same for Madeline Roberts apparently. And she says, I start tomorrow morning. Only since I was hired, I've had this dream every night. So she tells him the dream, and she's like, I wake up and I'm in the cemetery, and she's lost. And then she wanders around and she sees there's a tombstone and it has her name on it, and she's freaked out. And so then she realizes that it's actually like a tomb. And so she goes down into the tomb, and there's all kinds of papers. It's an office, and she sits down and she's looking around. But then all of a sudden the room starts to fill up with water, and she can't get out. The stone is in place and she can't get out, and she's very frightened and scared, and she's going to drown, And then at that moment, right here at the very last panel, it says, and then suddenly the waters wash away the stone, which seals me in. I am outside, but the waters cover everything. And even though my eyes are closed, I can see. And he's sitting there. At this point, he has a pipe. Again, he's still got these stained coffee pants, right, or suit, and he still has not tried to clean it up. He's just letting it soak right into the underwear, I guess. He likes the feel of the coffee. Mm-hmm. Then you wake up, terrified, of course. Yet your dream is quite normal, all but the water. Tell me, Miss Roberts, do you have any reason to fear water? She says, why no, I'm an excellent swimmer. Once when I was 6, I came close to drowning, but it hasn't left any effect on me. He says, okay, well, let me just tell you what your dream is all about. And he goes in there and he tells her, the tombstone bearing your name is identifying you. And then the tomb itself, is the feeling of failure you're having. And then you're in the office and you're trapped. He goes, but the candles they are the key to our solution. And he says the candles are the light of hope, the hope that you have. There's this light, the light that you're looking for. And he goes, 3 symbols, and the 4th is the waters, which rise and engulf you as you fear your work may engulf you. See, he's very smart as the dream detective. He goes, but I won't fail. I mustn't. I'll work hard. I'll try. He goes, of course you will. That's what you keep telling yourself. That's perfectly normal and healthy. And it's also substantiated in your dream. And he's telling her, the torch, that's the answer there. That's what's giving you the hope. You have the hope. Even though you have all these fears, you have to overcome them. And he goes, don't worry, you'll be just fine, You're going to do very well. And right there, he's like, as long as you have that, you won't fail, because you'll keep trying in the end. You'll have to succeed. And she's very happy, and she kisses him. And then at the very end, the Mike, the guy, working behind the counter, he says, so she's not a friend of yours, eh, Mr. Temple? And she kisses you like that? How come? he's insinuating something, isn't he? He's like, believe it or not, Mike, fate arranged to have me meet that young lady here, just so that she could kiss me. Mike is a bit of a wise guy, isn't he? He's a cool cat, man. I got to tell you about that. Mike is the counter guy. Robert Temple, the dream detective. Mr. Cool, chill, throw coffee in his face. He doesn't flinch. All right, so the next one. Okay, this one kind of relates to the cover where we had the strange dolly there getting thrown into the fire. And it's called, My Dolly is the Devil. Well, let me tell you this right now. If you know your dolly is the devil, why in the world do you have that dolly? I think you should move on from that dolly. You don't need it anymore. If you know my dolly is the devil, you're out, buddy. Nobody's bringing a devil dolly. Now, we do have the demon baby, and the demon baby will rate this story at the end, but this is the devil dolly. So, that one's a bit more creepy if you ask me. The devil, anything with the devil is just already 1000% evil, and you should stay clear from it forever. But here we go. Oh, there's some sports teams that have the name Devil. Oh, that's kind of crazy. Anyway, I don't have a comment on that. I'm not going to bring that up anymore. Let's just get into the story. We're trying to review these stories, and I'm going off on all these sidetrack things. I'm telling you today, I think I drank a little too much coffee myself, Instead of spilling it into my lap, I spilled it right into my mouth and drank a lot of coffee. So, I'm buzzing around like a woo-hoo-hoo-hoo, It's all right. Here it is right here. So we start out, and there's a man. He comes home, and his son welcomes him, is daddy's home, and he says, hi, big fella, how's my boy? He doesn't even say, hey, I'm doing great, I love you, Dad, hey, let's play together. No, he immediately says, the boy says, look at my dolly, Daddy, look at my dolly. That's pretty scary. Right away, I'd be like, okay, son, let's go have some tests run on you. You know, it's like, and the father knows the doll is very dirty. He's like, it isn't very clean, is it, Johnny? I don't think I've ever seen this one before. He says, I found it, Daddy. It called to me. It said it belonged to me. Again, right away, I'd be like, okay, son, let me just borrow the dolly from you and let's take you over to, you know, Richard Temple, the dream detective, because, you know, Johnny may have some issues here, you know what I mean? Right away, Johnny's a little cuckoo. All right, so anyway, you know, he has the doll and the mom is, you know, he's like, he has all these things, but why is he clinging to this one doll? And, you know, and he's like, I should get rid of this. And the mom's like, no, you can't get rid of it. He clings to it, he loves it. We'll just get the maid to clean it, you know. And so anyway, he's upstairs and he's walking around. He's like, whew, I feel like the morning after the night before. What does that mean? I feel like the morning after the night before. I guess he was very tired that night and he wakes up even more tired, right? So as he's going, you see him right there. Look, he's tripping, he's falling down ooh, I spit on the book. Wow, oh boy. Now I'm spilling my spit all over the book. I spilled most of my spit onto the book. Yes, it might have been my fault. I wasn't watching where I was going, but inanimate objects don't move. They don't clutch and hold. Hey! And he's falling, you see the doll is hanging on to him there. And he's falling down the stairs, and there's the doll sitting there watching him as he goes right down the stairs, you know. Dad may have kicked back a few drinks, you know, the night before, and maybe he's just stumbling around, because he did say, I feel like the morning after the night before. You know, and the mom's like, oh, my goodness, Ray, what happened? He's like, I fell. Who moved that table? Well, I don't know. It wasn't standing there last night. And who put that doll on the landing? I left it here, in this room. She's like, you're shouting, Ray. Are you sure you're all right? I'm not sure of anything. I want to know. I'm sorry, honey. Forget it. I guess I'm just a bit shaken up. Yeah, you're shaken up. You just got tripped by a doll, you know, or at least you think the doll grabbed on. You think you would feel that. You would notice if something grabbed your ankle and like threw you like that down the stairs. But now he's having second thoughts. Well, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe it wasn't the doll. Even though if you think back and you're like, Johnny said this doll called out to him. Johnny's acting very strange about this doll. Anyway, so he goes to work, and then he, you know, he's leaving, and he comes home, and he sees the maid, and the maid's hand is all wrapped up, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, well, I was cleaning that doll, and you know, I got cut. My hand was cut. And he says, really? Huh, that's interesting. And he goes, how's your new dolly, Johnny? All cleaned up? He says, yes, it is, but Dolly didn't like to get wet. Dolly says Vera is a bad woman, Daddy. She hurt Dolly. And then over here again, we got another disturbing aspect. Johnny is a very disturbed little boy, but nobody seems to want to, you know, point out the elephant in the room, which is the child who seems to be very disturbed. And right here, this to me is the third strike. This is where you say, okay, Dolly is going down into a hole somewhere. Dolly is going to dolly away, very far away from here. Because he says right here, Dolly says Vera is stupid and careless, that she ought to be dead. Now, I don't know how old Johnny is, but for Johnny to be saying that, I would be like, okay, Johnny, we definitely are making an appointment for you to go to the psychologist. Anyway, that night, you know, he's looking in on his son, and the doll is sitting there just staring. And, you know, the dad's like, ooh, this is just getting very creepy. And he's thinking. He's like, you know, something is wrong. He's like, I feel like I was stripped. The doll was there. And then Vera, you know, she was cut. And that was when he was cleaning it. And he's like, no, this doesn't seem right. So he goes, he's like, I got to go look for this doll. I got to go look at the doll. He's walking around, he's going to the doll, but then he smells something. And he's like, let me go, I'm gonna go check this out. And he realizes that he's smelling gas. And then he's like, then he finds Vera dead in her room. And they were like, huh, what's going on? He's like, And the detective says, well, it isn't hard to figure out, Mr. Shelton. The girl turned on the gas heater and fell asleep. Sometime during the night, the flame went out. These things happen all the time. And she says, yes, I suppose. And he says, poor Vera. But then he's thinking now, and he's like, I was walking down the stairs, and the doll was there, and it felt like it tripped me. And then Vera's hand was cut, and now she's dead, and there's gas. And then he smells the doll. He's like, funny, it smells like gas. Must have seeped through the cracks in the door, especially if it's been there all night. He's like, yes, you're right. It's been there all night. And he's like, I've got to get rid of this stupid doll. And he's like, comes in there, he goes, I'm sorry, Johnny, I'm taking the doll. And then he's like, no, wait a minute, I can't. This is crazy. I'm talking about a doll. What is the crazy? This is crazy. And then then all of a sudden he realizes, that's strange. Light in Johnny's room. Something darting about. He opens the door. Johnny, you mustn't put out the fire, Daddy. Dolly likes it. And he's like, he yanks a curtain and he puts the fire out, and he's like, all right, that's it. The doll is done. We're getting rid of this stupid doll. The house was on fire, and he's saying it was the doll that did it. So he's like, no more. And he grabs the doll and he runs to the furnace, and he's gonna throw the doll in the furnace, And so here at the last panel, check this out. He says, there was nothing that could stop me from doing what had to be done. I slammed the basement door behind me just as May and Johnny flung themselves upon it. The thing I clutched in my hand was no longer a doll, but a squirming, spitting, foul-mouthed fiend from the pits. Great Scott! And then here you go. This is the little Frightculous here. I thanked heaven that May and Johnny couldn't open the basement door, couldn't witness and hear the vile thing that shouldn't have been able to struggle and claw, but did. The thing that's still pounding and screaming in the flames long after I had thrown it into the furnace and held my ears to keep from going raving mad. And the thing is screaming at him, Apparently the doll, once he was going to throw it in the fire, the doll became very awake, very aware, and started cursing him out, because he's like, I'm glad my wife and son could not hear what the vile things this doll was saying to me. You have to wonder though, was he telling any of this to little Johnny? So if we start getting bad-mouthed words coming out of Johnny, then we know it was the dolly who is the devil. So anyway, there you go. That's a pretty creepy story. It kind of sounds like the old, the movie Child's Play, right? But this book came out before Child's Play. This book came out in 1975, I believe it is. And so, the Child's Play didn't come out until the 80s. So, but it's not like the idea of a doll being alive and coming alive is, an old concept. It was just the movie Child's Play made it very well known. Chucky, we used to know, yes. This one, they just called it Dolly, right? But, very ingenious name. They're very creative. Hey, we need a scatty name for the doll. Well, I don't know. We could call him, Devin the dolly, almost devil. That's pretty, hey, there you go. It could have been called Devin. But I don't think they wanted to confuse. I think they wanted to keep the focus on the dolly. They don't want to personify the dolly, the doll, right? They called it dolly so that it kept that persona of just being a doll and not a person, right? So they didn't give it a name. But if I gave it a name, I'd say Devin. Devin the devil dolly. There you go, right there. Anyway, it was kind of like Child's Play, but different side of it. But it was kind of creepy. Dolls always creep people out. People are always scared of the dolls and the things like that, I don't know. They don't scare me as much, I mean, we have the demon baby here, and, she doesn't really frighten me. I just never had a huge fright about that. But anyway, what about you? Are you scared of dolls? Will you sleep in a room full of dolls, or do they creep you out? Does it look like they're watching you as you walk around the room? I mean, I've just never seen it move. I mean, if you're scared of a doll, here's the thing to do. In this day and age with all the cameras, all you got to do is take one of those security cameras. They're very cheap. You get one for $50, or any camera that you can just let it roll consistently and just film the doll like 24 hours a day and see if it ever moves or does anything, right? I mean, back then they didn't have that. They couldn't do that. But now you can do that. So if you have a doll you're creeped out by, you think something's suspicious about it, get a camera and stick it on the doll and just let it roam. Or, roll, let it video it for 24 hours a day. And that way, if something happens, you can just go check the video. It's very simple. It's very simple to debunk these scary dolls, the scary, spooky dolls. Ooh, spooky doll. It's the intent you put in the doll. Some people could put a negative intent into the doll, and then it holds negative energy. It can. Objects can hold a lot of negative energy, so the doll could have a negative energy about it, which, you know, at that point you do need to get rid of it. But you know what? A lamp or a book or a candle, a lot of things can hold negative energy. You know, if there's trauma around that object or came from a house with trauma, it could actually, you know, it could infect your home if you bring it in. So always be careful when you buy things from antique shops or from garage sales. You don't know what kind of negative energy might be attached to it. Ooh, be very aware of that. Especially if you're buying a really dirty old dolly, you know, and your son starts acting crazy about it. That right there is the clue that it's something wrong with that doll. You need to do the old punt kick. You know, you remember the movie, what is it, Ron Burgundy, when the Jack Black takes his dog and just like punts it off the bridge, you know? You kicked Baxter off the bridge. Yes, that was a humorous movie. But I would be doing that with the dolly, you know? I'd be drop kicking that dolly right off the bridge, you know, into the river. All right, there we go. Now the last one, we have one more story in here. It's called Send Us Your Dreams. It's another Richard Temple story. It says, right here at the very top, some dreams by their very nature are universal. The same dream can occur to a banker, a student, a housewife. Well, that's true, Robert Temple. People can have these same type of dreams. That's what they do. They tend to, you can look at certain things, you know, snakes have a certain meaning if you see them in your dream, or if you're falling down a hole or something that has a meaning. Apparently they've been able to decipher this. And he's already solved one dream crisis for the lady, remember, that had the new accountant, the new junior accountant, you know. So now there's another dream, and he's like, recently during an interview in my office, such a dream was related to me by Mr. Walter W. In analyzing his dream, perhaps I can also explain yours. Robert Temple seems to be he's the cool cat. He's the cool cat dream detective. So here he goes, he's gonna start deciphering another dream. And it starts out, and I'm just going to summarize it. There's a lot. We don't need to go too detailed with it. But the dream basically is this. Walter W., he's walking down a winding, twisty road, and then a storm pours in, the fury of the storm. But then up ahead, he sees a lovely garden. And he wants to get to the garden, but there's a fence drops down. He can't get to it. There's all these little dwarves and menacing little dwarves and ugly little creatures running, and they're telling him to go back, and they swarm through every opening of the steel fence to get at Walter, you know, and they're pulling him away, and it's like, no, don't stop me, I must reach the garden. There were thousands of hideous little eyes and squealing voices and gripping talons. Walter felt a wild surge of unreasoning terror. Suddenly he found himself running along what seemed like a smoothly paved highway. But then there were these cars rushing by him, fast cars whipping by him, zoom, 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 and he's trying to dodge them, and then, you know, only time enough to cower and wait for the crushing impact. He's about to get hit by the car, and that's when he wakes up. That was it, Mr. Temple. Is there any way to keep this dream from reoccurring? And then Mr. Calm, Cool, Collected Dream Detective Richard Temple, sitting there with his arms nonchalantly crossed, says, I'm afraid not, sir. You see, this dream represents the most basic of all human emotions, the instinct of self-preservation. In this world of atom bombs, we all seek the sunlit garden of your dream. There you go, okay? So he's saying, you see, a lot of people have this dream. You know, it's self-preservation. We're scared of just the world around us, so we have these crazy nightmares. But what he's saying is, but there are always the dark forces barring the way. The fence, the goblins, the blind hurtling futuristic cars rise out of your fears of the times we live in. You're under tension, Mr. W. Relax. Perhaps someday soon we'll reach the garden. So basically what he's saying there is that, you know, it's the world around us, all the atom bombs and the nuclear weapons and the war and the diseases and the crime and just, you know, the economy that's collapsing and All of these things we are constantly bombarded with. And so but you want to get to peace. You're trying to reach peace. You want to be happy and be content. And what Richard Temple is saying is like, nope, you're going to keep having this dream, but maybe someday in the future, we'll get there. But in the meantime, just relax. You remember the shirts that said, Johnny says relax, or what was it? It was like, the one that says, keep calm and keep on dreaming, right? That's what the shirts would say. But also, Johnny says relax, right? Or no, Frankie, no, it was the shirt. The shirt that said, Frankie says relax. So that's all he tells him. He's like, well, Doc, I'm having these dreams. I feel like the end of the world. I'm about to be killed by a crushing car coming on me. There's goblins. There's all these crazy things going on. Is there any way I can get rid of this dream? He said, nope, you're stuck with it, my friend, because the world is a dangerous place, but maybe someday we'll get out of it. So in the meantime, just relax. Like me, I can sit there and have coffee spilled in my lap, and I'm as cool as a cucumber. And then I get kissed in the end. So hey, just relax. You'll be all right, my friend. And with that, we're going to relax a little bit and wait for the demon baby to come aware so she can rate this book of scary stories right now. All right, now we're going to get our official rating by the demon baby. Will she become aware now? Yes, there she is. She is aware. And so now, demon baby, we must know, will you rate this scary book for us and tell us? 1 head spin for not very scary, all the way up to 5 head spins being the most scary of all the scaries. So here we go. What will she give this book? Well, here we go. We'll wait very patiently. Much like Richard Temple, we will stand here very calmly and wait for the demon baby to give us a head spin. That is 1 head spin. There we go. At least 1 head spin for this book. Oh, that's 2 head spins there. 2 head spins for the scary book. Okay. Any more head spins there, demon baby? Do you think the book Black Magic, is it worth any more head spins than that? Nope. She's done. Only 2 head spins for this. I'm telling you, demon baby, she is a hard one to crack, to get up to the 3 or 4. I mean, can you imagine what 5 head spins is going to be like? I've enjoyed going over this scary story with you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and like the video and share it, share. Share the video. Maybe someone else would like to hear about Richard Temple, the Dream Detective, which I'm kind of curious. Why is he in a comic called Black Magic? I don't know. I don't know how the two, unless he's, I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me either. Maybe you can tell me in the comments. You can figure it out yourself. But with that, we're going to go now. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I will see you next time. The next time when we do another book of scary stories. So yes, be very careful though. And with that, here we go. I was trying to get that to come. There it is. All right. See you next time. And farewell.